Hello. Yesterday I was having a comment exchange with Skaz, and he mentioned that he really wants to get Korg Miku, the ultimate anime party pedal. If you don't know what it is, find out. You're gonna love it. Or you're gonna hate it. But it won't leave you cold in any way. So I remembered after that comment exchange that I need to do some pedal maintenance, because when I started out playing years ago, I was told that you need to turn all the knobs on your pedals and your amps regularly so they won't start crackling. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've been doing religiously for years. So here we are, and I was testing out different pedals, but sadly I was forced to use headphones, because you can't crank even a small amp if you have neighbors around. So let's see what we have here. And obviously I tried to find two pedals that are missing. I know that they are somewhere here, but I couldn't find Sound Tank series Ibanez thrash metal. And if you are a thrash metal guitarist, don't get it. If you play black metal, then go for it. It sounds like kind of angry bees. And then I couldn't find my Ibanez TS9. The first pedal I actually ever got. When I first started out playing, after a few months buying my first guitar, I went to the guitar shop or the music store, and I wanted to have a distortion pedal. And I had no idea about distortion pedals. Anyway, all I knew that I wanted to have one. So they sold me TS9, which is overdriver, but still. And I was wondering, why am I not sounding like Sad But True era Metallica, or Black Album era Metallica? But after years went by, I realized that there's also something else than just TS9 involved here. Quite a lot more actually, but let's see what we have. First of all, we have Korg Tuner. And this works both with guitars and basses. This is, I think the actual model is pitch black. I think. Hard to read. Next we have Sansamp Tri-AC, and this is a 3-channel completely analog preamp. So we have California, Brit and Tweed. So because of copyright reasons, they're actually Mesa Boogie, Marshall and Fender. And so you basically have 3 different amps in this box. And this is completely analog, which is kind of a nice. And I used this back in the day with bass. So this gives you kind of a bit crunch into there without having to use a distortion pedal per se. So you just boost this with the drive, or you boost your bass with the drive, and it's a good, slightly raunchy bass tone. And if you want to blow someone's head off, plus your speakers, trust me, I've done that, you use this. Electro Harmonix Bass Big Muff Pi. And I actually blew a speaker with this. It was, I think it was 15-inch or 18-inch bass speaker, and it just went, and that was that. But there you have normal mode, then you have bass boost mode, and then you have this dry. And if you turn this to dry, then this volume becomes a mix pot. So your clean signal is still bleeding through or coming through, but you can adjust the amount of fuzz with this. So when it's all the way here, it's only your bass sound coming from the input, coming to the input. As you start rising this, it'll start rising the level of fuzz. And this thing also works great with guitars and keyboards, although if you connect a keyboard into this, you need something before the pedal to tame the signal level, because keyboard output can be a bit hot, so you don't want to fry your pedals. And I really would like to have a place to play with amps cranked up, because I just love that feeling. If you are a guitar player and you have had an opportunity to play with higher volumes, it's a fantastic feeling that you can almost lean into the sound. and it would keep you upright. I love it. I love it. And that's the prime reason why I like bass so much. Because you can feel it. You can actually feel it in your body when you're playing with higher volumes. But for the sake of this kind of pedal test, I was using this. This was my first amp. This is the first amp I ever got. And it still works perfectly. And this thing has went through hell with me. When I was in a band, I was in a punk, grunge, whatever, pop band, playing small shows in a community centers and wherever. This was the amp I was using, obviously mic'd up. And this is PV Rage 158. I think this is a 15 watt small combo amp. And it has this trans tube circuit in it, which is basically, I think, the same than what MOSFET circuit is for Randall. So it's a tube emulation. This is completely solid state amp, but the distorted channel emulates the behavior of a tube amp. And actually, if you have played with something like I don't actually even remember the name of it, PV Bandit was it? It kind of feels like playing with a tube amp. The way that the amp reacts, I mean, obviously it's not the real thing, but it's close enough. It's close enough that it breaks like a tube amp, or kind of like a tube amp. The distortion quality is similar to tube amp, and all that in a solid state box. And you can also boost the distortion channel on this with the TS9. And it actually sounds good. I've seen people boosting something like Marshall Valve States, which is a solid state amp with one, I think it's preamp tube, that I also have in my Randall. There's one preamp tube in that, or was it in a power section? No, I don't remember, but there's one tube in it. I don't know if it makes any difference to have a tube or not, whatever. But you can also boost this thing with the TS9 like you would boost a tube amp, and it sounds good. But obviously I can't do any kind of a sound demos because it wouldn't take long before there would be someone behind our door saying to shut up. I really want to play live again, or even in a rehearsal situation, because now I'm just playing with amp sims and multi-effects with headphones, but I want to hear the roar of the actual amp, of the actual speaker powered by an actual amp, moving real air into a real eardrum.
Something in a way, yeah. Something in a way. Something in a way, yeah.
Let's take comment of the day from the realms of the internet. Why are you talking so much about other people's videos in your own videos? Don't you have anything original to say? Well, I checked out your channel. Good luck with that long dark playthrough that you're doing. Although you do realize that you're playing the sandbox mode, so unless they have changed the game so you can actually be rescued while playing the sandbox, it will be kind of a long series, so good luck. But that's one of the things I don't get what comes to nowadays YouTube of today. Is it all just self-promoting? That you can't mention other people unless they are in your own little jerking circle or whatever. I'm talking about other people's videos because if you are a vlogger yourself, it's ridiculous to think that you're not influenced by or you're not reacting to what other people have to say. Because the last time I checked my own personal view what comes to YouTube, it's about sharing opinions and ideas. And that's a two-way street. You can talk about things, but if no one's reacting, then there is no conversation. And to me, YouTube is about having that conversation. Although my comment section is pretty empty. There are people watching that, but there aren't people commenting, and that makes me sometimes that makes me a bit paranoid or something. What is this? But there are, well, same thing with Twitch. In general, I mean, there are always way more lurkers than there are people in the chat. So, and I think somebody once calculated it, that if you have, what was it, so that if you have 100 people in your stream, there are about 10 people who are actually active in the chat. And it's same thing with YouTube. There are always more views than there are comments. And when I was talking about pedals, I forgot to mention the wah pedal I have. It's a Power Wah by Morley. I think I pronounced it close enough. And I got it because it's an optical. It's an optical pedal. So there are no moving parts with the exception of a on-off switch and the pedal itself. Because the old school pedals, they'll get squeaky over time if you're not lubricating them. And I want my rig to be practical. So less things to go wrong, the better. And actually those 3 pedals you saw, those were my live rig when I was still playing bass in bands. I only had those 3 because in that Sam's amp I had 3 different options, and I also had the fuzz. And if you combine that big muff with a wah pedal, you're going to make the guitarists in your band pretty upset. Yay! But I just watched Skaz's previous video. Skaz, if you're watching this, don't waste your money on me what comes to Rocksmith. I've tried it and I know how it works and so on. And it's a great tool if you want to learn how to play. I mean, if you want technicalities of playing, it's good for that. But I'm not a player, I'm a songwriter. And I need to have some kind of basic understanding about instruments if I want to write songs. So I'm not a guitar player per se. I'm a songwriter who uses guitar, basses and keyboards as a tool or tools. So I'm not interested about learning how to play. So, and what comes to raw musicianship, I'm a sloppy player and I know it. But I only have to play well enough in order to write songs, and that's my interest. And Rocksmith is for people who want to learn how to play. And I've been playing long enough so I can play well enough in order to get the ideas that are playing in my head onto tape or onto hard drive through my hands. So I'm not interested about learning how to play. But anyways, today will be a bit, well, I would say thin, because there's really not all that much to do. I got those pedals checked. There were no wiring issues or anything like that, so they're still working. But I really would like to know where that TS9 and that thrash metal are, because I know that they are somewhere in my gear boxes, but I have multiple boxes, bags, containers filled with cables, power supplies, so forth. So they are somewhere. I just need to find them. And that Nirvana song I did in the beginning, it was a pretty, let's say, interesting rendition, because well, Skaz was talking about in his vlog about learning one more chord and you can play a Nirvana song, and I think it was 3 chords that he was talking about. You can actually play a Nirvana song only with 2 chords. And I haven't played that song for a long time. I actually had to check the lyrics from the internet. But it's been a long time since I played it, and it was wrong tuning, wrong key, but still right chords. One random thought about pedals. There's always this debate which order you should put your pedals from your guitar into the amp. And I think the most common order is that first tuner, then distortion or wah. The order of those two depends on, do you want to wah the distortion or do you want to distort the wah? Sound changes depending on which order you put those two, so whatever you like. Then your modulation effects like phasers, flangers, chorus, something like that. Then delay, reverb, and maybe a compressor or something, or noise gate. That's something to keep in mind. But I found very early on by accident that it sounds way cooler when the distortion is the last one. So everything you have before that, all the wahs, flangers, phasers, choruses, reverbs, delays, everything is ran through a distortion and then into the amp. I mean, it sounds extremely lo-fi for some, and it's completely not according to the book how you should do things. But if you want to get that kind of a Neil Young type of sound, that's what he does. Delay and reverb are before the amp, and the distortion is coming from the amp. So, and it sounds, well, it may sound pretty bad when playing rhythm, but if you're playing leads and melodic lines, it sounds way a lot cooler for me when there's a distortion after the what I would call spatial effects like reverbs and delays. So just ran everything through a distortion and then into the amp. Well, obviously it's easy to do if you're using the dirty channel on your amp without using the effects loop, and that's something I've never done. I never use the effects loop on my amp. Everything is always in front of the amp, and about 75% of the time I'm using the amp distortion, or the distortion that's coming from the dirty channels of my amps. This is one of those days. Can't stay indoors, gotta be on the move. There's an idea or a plan that's been brewing in my head for a while now, and I think it's time to talk it out loud. As long as it's only in my head, the procrastination, if that's the word, continues, keeps on going. It's been years since the last time I properly released my own music, my own songs. I've been steadily writing songs, recording demos, making rough sketches, but actual finished, release-ready songs, not all that many. So my plan is to release 4 EPs during the next 365 days, without any kind of a genre limiter. Meaning that if the first song of an EP is an acoustic singer-songwriter thing, that will be the direction of that whole EP. And if the first song is, let's say, synth and sequencer based thing, I'll go with that for the duration of that particular EP. And all of this is part of my kind of a, well, I can say age crisis. When I turned 30, that was only a number although I had a small child and life changed when I was in my late 20s. So I really didn't have the time to think about things. But later this year I'll be turning 40 in a matter of months. So the idea of mortality has been around lately pretty heavily. Not fear of dying, because that's circle of life. We're born, we live, we die. That's not the issue here. But the idea of how I want to spend the decades I still have, or I hopefully I have. And this whole music releasing thing is one of them, because the songs I've written are now on my hard drives, they are on my notebooks, they are on my phone in a form of humming and making strange noises. But I want to get them out into the wild for people to hear and maybe like, maybe hate. But that's kind of a hard thing. Well, it's especially hard when I'm speaking in English, but when you're 15, 1 year seems to be an eternity. But the older you get, the faster time seems to be moving. And I don't want to be in a situation where I'm significantly older than now and I can see all the things I meant to do but didn't. And I don't want to be in that situation. There are certain things I want to do during my lifetime, during what I still have, just because of myself. Because of myself and for myself. It's, well, somebody can think that that's selfish. Well, no, to me that's being an individual. We all have certain things we want to do as individuals, then there are certain things we want to do as part of our family, as part of our community or whatever. But I want to do this thing for myself. And if someone else like it, that's bonus. That's a bonus. But this is a pretty serious stuffs. But this kind of a I don't know the proper English term for it, but let's say self-exploration is only healthy, because if you don't do it, you might end up into a situation where you don't know who you are, what you want, and you don't quite understand your own past, and you don't have any ideas what to do in the future. And this is a multi-layered thing. But I'm guessing that if you are a bit older person, you're not a teenager, you're, let's say, 25 or over, or maybe you're younger and you're having these thoughts. But it's natural. It's natural to think these kind of things. And I think the older you get, the more you actually spend time thinking about them. Although you shouldn't get, I forgot the right word, obsessed with it. But it's something to keep in mind, that humans, I mean individuals, are not meant to last forever. Well, although neither is human species, but still, we are not eternal. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Well, now we are in the deep waters, so I think it's time to finish this vlog here. So, see ya!